Hi, I'd like to ask you to do something for me if you wouldn't mind. If you like this episode, I'd like you to not only subscribe on your favorite site, but I'd also like you to give a rating. Ideally, a five-star rating would be greatly appreciated. But I think more importantly, also would be just some comments. That helps with the algorithm and it helps build the audience with this. And more than anything else, if you could invite somebody else to listen, just share this episode with a friend, with a colleague. And I'd like to see how we can grow the soul of business. I think it makes a difference. Thanks. Hello, folks, and welcome to another edition of The Soul of Business with Blaine Bartlett. I cannot tell you how excited I am about this episode. My guest today is someone I have known, oh my goodness gracious. I'll just kind of give you some background. She's an original founding member of the Transformational Leadership Council, which I have been a party of, or been part of for about 15 years. Oh, no, 20 years, actually, almost 20 years now. She's a good friend, a dear friend. We've gotten to know each other, and she is probably best known to folks today that have been in the study area of the law of attraction and just law of success, law of vibration. I mean, the whole idea here got just landed real strongly when Rhonda Byrne made a movie called The Secret. And Marie Diamond was featured in that movie to some significant critical acclaim. And she is just extraordinary. Today, she's probably, and this is not an exaggeration in any way, shape, or form, probably the premier practitioner of Feng Shui on the planet today. Her client list is crazy. She's worked with folks all over the world. And I'll just kind of name drop here if I can, just a moment. Steven Spielberg, somebody may have heard of him, I don't know. But Jodie Foster, Dan Aykroyd, Rhonda Byrne, obviously, Jack Canfield, my dear friend, Bob Proctor, who is one of my best friends in the world, John Gray, who is one of my best friends. So the list goes on and on and on. Marie, I want to just welcome you to the show. You are also a knighted dame for your humanitarian work. We share that in common as well as the TLC. I was knighted as well. And so we are going to have a fascinating conversation. So, folks, please, with me, welcome my good friend, Marie Diamond.
Thank you so
Good to have
much,
you.
Blake, for having me on your show, and so excited for this conversation.
Oh, we're going to have fun here. Now, your specialty obviously is Feng Shui and just kind of everything. And that's not just a discrete thing. It's a big thing. There's some fascinating things. And I lived in Japan for a number of years. I've worked in China for almost 20 years now. I'm an adjunct professor at Beijing University. I'm very familiar with conceptually Feng Shui. Yeah. And all that kind of gets bundled into that. The title of this show is The Soul of Business. And I'm going to be very interested to kind of marry these two concepts because I think there is a marriage, in fact,
Yeah.
that is going to be fruitfully explored here. But when you hear the term the soul of business, what does that bring up for you?
Well, for me, when I think about the soul, it's about spiritual vibration. It's, when you come into a business or you connect with the business, there is a certain spiritual vibration. Perhaps people would call it an energy vibration. I think in today's world, they kind of get the closest to it by looking at the energy of a brand. So for me, that's kind of what everybody has as a person, but also every concept, every organization has a collective field and what we would call the quantum field in a way. And so it's very interesting. I do believe that feng shui is one of the techniques, one of the systems that can really tap into that soul of business.
And I love that, the collective field. I mean, we'll oftentimes refer that as the culture in a business, but
Yeah.
it's more than the culture in the business. It literally is the feel of the field. Yeah, how does it? I mean, I remember walking into Microsoft years ago when I was doing some work with them, and it had a certain feel to it. And then when yeah, popped in, I was down in the Bay Area, popped into Google. It had a completely different feel to it,
Yeah.
and it's that yeah that energetic and also just the buildings, how they were put together. I mean, where things were placed. Everything was Google was different than obviously Microsoft.
Yeah, it is an
The
expression, right? It's an expression
It's
of
an
your
expression.
field. It's
Yeah.
happening in your brand, it's in your communication, but also it's in the location that you create that surrounds, the people that live there. And so that's very interesting from a feng shui perspective. We can actually direct that energy. And so when I work with companies, that's always something I need to look into, like what is the soul of that business? What is that highest vibration that they want to bring forward? And sometimes you have to start with I would say the offices of the CEO and the major people that are deciding in the company, but also the entrance, where people then come together, the conferences, where they come together, it needs to align with that soul of business. I
Hmm.
do believe that is very, very important.
That, and you've done some work with some fascinating companies. I mean, I'm just kind
Yeah,
of looking at the list over here. Exxon, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's kind of like, okay, Exxon, that's interesting. Yeah.
yeah,
Um, the idea of positioning. I mean, I'm going to put this in the framing, if I can, here, Marie, of ontological design. Yeah, kind of designing an environment so that it designs me in return, but that original designing the environment is an expression of who I am. So what's going to best serve that? So there's a reciprocity that kind of comes into play here.
yeah.
um,
It is it's a resonant field. You have to understand this way that, and it's one of the things how I understand for the first time when I did my master training um, with my grandmaster, was that he said there were like three concepts literally to the energy of an environment to manifest. And the first one he said is like, it's first, we call the human lack, and that's your soul. That's really the soul of a business, soul of a person. It's your, what you received when you create something, right? It's a creative force in a way,
mhm.
right? And we don't always are in tune with that, but it's present. It's always there. And then the second part is the human lack, and that's actually what do we do as a human being in organization or even in our own home? Like, what decisions do we make? How is our mood? How is our emotions? How is our mindset? That's the second part. But he said there's a third part that I think in China for the thousands of years, and more than China, the Asian cultures, they were aware that the environment was also affecting people's mindset, was affecting their mood, was affecting their decisions, were affecting their leadership, but also affecting ultimately how they would manifest their soul into the world. And that was for me such a breakthrough because, I was a meditation student. I was teaching about meditation already at that point. And so for me, it was like, oh, I get that, the environment is affecting us nonstop, like literally where we sleep, where we live, where we work 24 hours a day. And so the feng shui is really the energy system that the Chinese understood by, I'm sure, based on first shamanic principles, finding the energy of the wind and the water and understanding all of this. They started to understand there were formulas, there were principles at work that are all the time working the same way. So in a way, there are laws of the universe, but in the environment. And so they started practicing that and they started seeing the shift it had on somebody's leadership. First of all, it was practiced by the leaders of China, of course, about their power. They also saw the effect on the longevity of people. They also saw it on the effect on the relationships. And so it's only since the 1980s that this information kind of was accepted and brought over to the more Western world. But I would say the closest I could get to explain it is to say like acupuncture. So if we, for
Mm.
example, do acupuncture on our body, acupressure, we allow the flow to move forward. So if in your environment, the way you position yourself, the images that you hang up, if that is aligned with your soul, if it's aligned with your mindset, then this is actually creating an acupuncture pressure point in your home to create more flow towards what you want to create.
You know, I love that relating it to acupuncture, acupressure. You know, the meridians that move through, and you know, energy moves. Everything
Yeah,
vibrates. Everything's always in motion. And where's the pinch point? If there's a pinch point, what happens? Well, energy gets backed up and flow stops and that kind of thing. Your new book, I want to, Feng Shui Your Life, a beginner's guide to using your home to attract the life of your dream. That tagline, there's two pieces to it: a beginner's guide, and then using your home to attract the life of your dream. Um, so I can, implicit in that title is I can start with whatever home I find myself living in and begin to
correct.
do something with it from an energetic perspective that begins to have an immediate impact on what's
Yeah.
going on in my life.
Correct. So
Yeah.
it's really, a lot of people know there's a missing piece, a missing link. And so when I work with luminaries like our dear friends that we have in TLC, or I work with celebrity clients, they, or top people in the industry, leadership, I always see they reaching a ceiling, like with their mindset, with
Hmm.
all their actions that they're taking, they kind of hit a ceiling. And it's because at a certain point, their environment is not in alignment with what their ideas, the vision that they have. And so there are some beginners practices that each time I come in somebody, that has name and fame, these are the basic principles I use all the time. And it's very personal. That's the whole key, is that it's actually when we go into finding the wind, finding the energy for you, it's based on your birthday and your birth gender. And there's a calculation that is done, and then you create an energy number. And then based on that, we know the four directions that create the best wind for you. And so this whole book explains that, how to very practically do that, together with a free app that I have that people can download. That's just, they go to Marie Diamond and the app stores. And so it helps them to understand, based on their birthday, like in their office, what is my success direction? And so in your success direction is the strongest wind for your career and for your money flow. And when people have their things that are not aligned with what they want, for example, their logo or a vision board or their products or their certificates, their awards, so they can place something there. It actually creates an acupuncture point that says all the time, I'm working for you, I'm creating flow. And then they have also something called relationship direction. And if they find that in their office, and perhaps there's clutter there, and they declutter it, it's suddenly like energetically, it opens up a portal to create more clients. And then if they can then put symbols or something
Uh,
related with their clients, like I have a globe there, I'm in 190 countries published.
yeah.
So for me, that is like connecting with humanity, right? I'm connecting always very closely that, but also I have my images of my team there. Like I have some images with me and some of my famous clients. So I'm kind of, without seeing it, it's in my subconscious mind. Each time I come in, my subconscious mind picks up the signals from that field. And so even if I don't have to focus on it, my home is focusing, my office is focusing on it, even if I'm not there, because that's how the field, the quantum field reacts. So in that sense, I do believe we can create an additional 33% of results in our manifestation, because that is how much your environment is affecting you and is inspiring you. So that's quite a lot. And so with
That
simple
is.
techniques, you can
Yeah.
really literally create something that is very personal for you, and that you can use what you have already, but placing it in the right directions so that your acupuncture energy of your office, of your home, is starting to work. Now, you don't have to put needles in literally, but it's just symbols or images or the way you position yourself. So there's all kinds of information. And with that book, you can really start yourself in any place that you have.
I love that. And again, that reciprocity, in design, if the attunement, the resonance that you're speaking to there. Um, what's the biggest mistake that people most typically will make in their home from a feng shui perspective?
Yeah. Well, I would say there are definitely two. First of all, is that we need to understand that chaos around us creates chaos in our mind and our hearts. Yeah. So when there's chaos, we cannot connect in with the soul of our business. We cannot connect with our own soul, literally, because we are disrupted by the disharmony around us. So creating order and harmony around us will align ourselves better with our vision. So that's the first thing I come into a company is like, let go of all the old products you're holding on to, your old statements, things you don't need anymore. And then it opens up the portal to receive new clients, new information, new ideas, new projects. Because a lot of people cannot get the new ideas in because they're still connected and seeing the the physical realm of their old ideas. Yeah. So that's kind
Yeah.
of the first thing. The second thing is, especially if you want to be in tune with your soul of your business, if you want to be in tune of, the universe and the realms of possibilities, you need to always sit in a position that you see the door of the room that you are working in. Or if you're in a conference room or you have a meeting with a client, always set yourself up, you see the door. Now, we have seen through some tests that we have done that when people sit with their back to the door, like they're sitting against the wall or they're looking at the window and they have the door behind them, that they go very quickly in more beta brainwaves. When we go in more beta brainwaves, we are focusing more on the past, we're more disrupted, more less concentration. When they change their desk and they see the door and they have space on the other side of their desk to like symbolically have somebody sitting there, even if you're working online, you will see right away within a few seconds, it goes very quickly, that we are creating more alpha brainwaves. When in alpha brainwaves, we're focusing more on the future, we're more creative, we're more optimistic. And so that alone puts you more in touch with the vision of you have of your company.
I love that. And that is actually that's a very simple suggestion in terms of what we
Yeah,
do here. As you were talking, I was kind of looking around at my office here. I can see all the doors because there's three
yeah,
doors that come into the office. I can see all of them. The main
okay,
door, I've got a large space in front of my desk, and then it opens up onto the sea.
yeah,
So it's just this expansion that kind of goes out, and
correct.
that's, I literally designed it that way. I wanted,
Beautiful.
and
Well, you
in
did it
large part
great.
because of conversations I had with you,
Yeah.
just kind of this expansion coming in. Um,
Yeah, that is beautiful. I love that. And you have to think about every CEO, every leader, think even the president of the United States, in the Oval Room, he see the four doors that are leading towards him. He's never with his back to the door. Now he could have been turning himself around, seeing the beautiful Washington Monument, out of the window, but that's not his focus. His focus is towards what's happening in the room itself, because it's happening in the room. It's the people, the conversations, the meetings. If it's physically or online, you are in control of it. You are in leadership.
I love that. I love that. We're going to take a real quick break here. I'm hesitant to do that because I like the flow that we're in right now. But speaking of the past, I do want to touch a little bit on the past here, which has to do with your appearance in The Secret, and what was Feng Shui's role in getting you into The Secret? Uh, I've had conversations with Bob about that and a couple of other things. Bob Proctor. I'd love your take on this too. So we're going to take a real quick break, folks. We'll be right back. Guest today is Marie Diamond, and I hope you're enjoying the conversation. I am fascinated. The nature of life is evidenced in nature. Nature grows, and all of nature honors the desire to be more, to have more, and to do more. Life thrives when it's allowed to grow. And ideally, thriving is what we also, all of us, want to be able to do. Unfortunately, at some stage in life, most people find themselves settling into what I can only call a rut. And a rut is nothing more than a coffin with the ends kicked out. You want to quickly get out of any rut that you find yourself in. When you stop growing, that's when the coffin starts to appear. You know, the simple truth is this, and this is true for everything in nature. You're going to die. I'm going to die. Every one of us dies. So the question we need to come to grips with is not, are we going to die? The question nature asks us to answer is, are we truly living? That's what motivation is about. It's the desire to move. It's the desire to grow and to excel. Have I lived? How have I lived? I'd love for you to take advantage of my Leadership Mindset Masterclass. It's all about providing you with the tools to ensure thriving for yourself and for those around you. Register today to receive the free introduction video and find out more about this acclaimed program. You'll also receive a copy of my international #1 bestseller, Compassionate Capitalism, A Journey to the Soul of Business. I'm Blaine Bartlett, and I look forward to helping you thrive. Welcome back. Before we took that break, I had kind of teed up that we would be exploring kind of for me, a question in my mind. Yeah, how did Marie actually end up in The Secret? And I know just about everybody that was in The Secret personally, and how their journey of getting there is fascinating in and of itself. Your work, from a vibrational perspective, and the law of attraction is predicated on the law of vibration.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everything that vibrates at a certain level is available to me if I'm on that level. But how did Rhonda find out about you? How did your spot in The Secret actually come to be?
Well, it started a couple of years before. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm originally from Belgium. So I was teaching in Belgium. And then one day I got very clearly I had to move to the US because I really wanted to reach more people with my work. And energetically, I want to set up my first office to really reach, these millions of people. And I was living in San Francisco at that time, and I created my vision board. And I put on my vision board this little yellow post-it note, little post-it note where I put on it, I'm going to be in a movie seen by millions of people that will transform the world. And I kind of put that there because I was like, a message I got. And then I thought I put it in my success direction. I put also a fake Oscar on it because I thought well, it's a movie. What's the best symbol for that? And so within a month putting it there, I attracted two things. First of all, I started teaching about meditation and feng shui, and I started one of my first seminars I did when I moved to the US. One of our dear friends, Marcy Shaimov, came into my room, into the seminar room, and she was fascinated with what I was sharing already. And so that was just really interesting. And so she was my first, I would say, VIP client in the United States. And she told, others about it, like, Proctor, Jack Canfield, John Gray, Marion Williamson, so many of our friends. And so that was like the first thing that came in my life. And the second one is that within a month, putting that Oscar there, I attracted my first Oscar winning client. I have more than 20 Oscar winning clients now. But it was very interesting. And I was like, wow, what is going on here? I really didn't do that much of marketing. I just started. I mean, I literally came with a few suitcases to the US just for a couple of months to see how it unfolded. And so, but before I knew it, I was working with Jack, and then Jack invited me to this Transformational Leadership Council meeting in his living room. And he said to me, I remember telling him, but Jack, I'm just a total unknown person. I mean, literally, I had like probably 200 people that knew about me in the United States, right? I had a lot of students in Europe, but not and this is before the internet. And he said, "No, Marie, I know one day you'll be as famous as everybody else. I need somebody from Europe in that room." So that's how I got into that room. And then it was very interesting. Then the third meeting we had, I was always reading that little post-it note, looking at my Oscar, like, "Hey, Oscar, let's make this happen." But it's in my success direction. So it really started unfolding. And then, I met with Rhonda Byrne in the TLC meeting that was in Aspen, Colorado. And it was very interesting because she was like sitting next to me, like literally a few weeks before I had a dream of a woman that came to me in my dream and said, "I'm from Australia. Pay attention when you meet me." And so this woman sits next to me and she's like, "Hi, I'm Rhonda Byrne from Australia." And I tell her, I pay attention, right? And she was like, "Well, I have this interviews I'm doing." I said, I'm in, right? Because I was like my first interview ever for television. I'd never been in
Uh,
front of a camera at that point. Yeah. So you have to understand, I was a total unknown. I think I was at that moment probably the most unknown of everybody that got in The Secret. But the whole point was that I was telling something that nobody was talking about. I was talking about how the environment was affecting your law of attraction. And she was like
mhm.
fascinated by it. And that's, I got in The Secret. And I remember 6 months later, we saw the movie The Secret and in TLC, and some of our colleagues were quite upset that I was in it and they were not. And they asked me, "So, Marie, why are you in this movie?" And I said, "Well, it was on my vision board. Was it on yours?" That was my question to them. And so they're like, "Yeah, it was not on my vision board," right? But anyhow, what happened is later on is that when The Secret came out, it was not a raving success. And so Rhonda asked me to help her with setting up the feng shui of her office and her apartment.
Mhm.
By the way, I also was the feng shui master of the publishing company that brought the book out. And so, and several of the people in the movie are my clients. So that's why they gave me the nickname, The Secret Behind the Secret, because I was the common factor of making sure their feng shui was all great and to bring in, the success.
I love that. Yeah, I had a couple of pieces of that story, but yeah, thank you for fleshing out the rest of it. That particularly the dream that you had about I'm going to meet a woman from Australia. I That's fascinating to me.
And at that point, I had nobody that I knew from Australia. I mean, it was very, very, easy. And I also knew it was a woman with blonde hair. That was very clear and so she came to sit next to me because I was sitting way in the back. I was still so shy. I still felt so inappropriate to be there, right? So I felt all the way to the back, and the only place available was next to me. And so she probably felt, very uncomfortable herself. And so, but we became great friends. And so, but that was really like, I knew when the opportunity comes, right? That you need to say yes to it. Yeah. And even if I had never done this before, and it became a very nice part of The Secret. And of course, it brought me to a whole other level of success.
Absolutely. And, folks, if you're listening, I mean, I know you're listening if you're actually hearing my voice right now, but as you listen, I want you to pay particular attention, if you would, um, to what Marie's talking about here. Coming to a country, that, you basically knew nobody, but you had an idea that, I mean, if I'm going to expand and, have my dream be realized, I need to take a step. I don't know what the consequence of this will be, but I know what's in my mind and in my heart about where I'd like it to go. And I'm going back to the soul of business here. Entrepreneurs have a dream for what they'd like to have that business become, the difference that it can make out there. And it is a vibration. It is a vibration. And anything that lives on that vibration, anything that is associated with that vibrational frequency will be available to me. So when I start doing things that move my frequency, literally move me into a different level of vibrational frequency, anything that's at that new frequency now becomes available to me. I didn't have to go do anything to get it. It's just there. And this is, I think, for me, the magic. And I use the word magic very decidedly and uh, intentionally here. There is magic in Feng Shui. There really is. And I say magic not from the hocus pocus perspective, but magic in the way that life is structured this way. Life is magical. Life is absolutely magical when we can begin to understand how it works. I mean, Nikola Tesla talked about, if you want to understand the secrets of the universe, pay attention to vibration. Pay attention to vibration. And
No,
that's
I totally agree with you, Blaine, on that. And it's just like it's not just that you have to pay attention to the vibration. You also have to pay attention to what comes to you in your dreams or in your intuition
yes.
or in your gut feeling, whatever you would call that, because that's a message of that vibrational field that wants to communicate somehow with you. And what I love about feng shui is that I can expand that vibrational field and match that vibrational field around me, even if sometimes, we're human beings, it's not always so easy to keep on that vibrational level, right? But to
Mhm.
have a space around you that keeps you on that vibrational level, because it reminds you from whatever is around you that you can be on that level. And that's why, decluttering is just a simple step, and it feels like, what is that about? But it's actually because you're disrupting that vibrational field that you want to be on. And so then positioning certain things around you will actually affect you to help you with that.
Yeah. So we've talked a little bit about how people can actually, position their homes and organize their homes so that it's more effective from a feng shui perspective. What's the biggest mistake that people often make in their own homes?
Well, I would say that sometimes, people in their home, they are creating too much, I would say, a muted tone. Like it's all the whites and the beiges and the grays and this like monotone living, I would say. When you want to live from your soul, it's in color, right? It's not a
Yeah.
black and white perspective, it's color energy. And so there are certain colors that you can have around you that can support you. Like in a bedroom, for example, I would definitely go for more earth tones, not going for fire tones like reds or water tones like blues, because that creates too much of fire in the water. So you get too much into arguments and conflicts. But keep it calm and peaceful. But then in your office, you need to work more with colors like royal blue or gold or silver, that just like colors that just like stand out for leadership. It doesn't mean you have to paint your walls like this, but items that are in that field. And I love working with gold anyhow in companies, like your logo in a gold frame or your team in a gold frame, so your awards or your certificates in a gold frame, because it actually creates an exponential field. And then in the living room, it's much more about creating more an alive energy, even a collective of different colors, where we would make a mix of the five elements, where it's both fire, earth, metal, wood, like plants, and water. And so by creating that, you create a more harmonious existence. So colors can really be an expression of the soul of your business. And I think, for example, that's what you feel when you go to like a Microsoft, they will use other colors, yeah, than if you would go to Google, right? Because
Yeah.
it's a different vibration. And, I think they tap into that energetically by choosing certain colors.
Beautiful. Folks, we're going to have to bring this to a close, unfortunately. Marie, I'd love to have you back on the show at some point in time
I would love
down
that.
the road here. Um, we've been listening to Marie Diamond, the world's preeminent expert, truly, and this is not an exaggeration, folks. Trust me in this. This is not an exaggeration. The preeminent expert in feng shui. And Marie, where can people find out more about you and also your newest book?
Yeah, so the book Feng Shui Your Life is available in all the good bookstores and on Amazon, of course. And then they can go to mariediamond.com. They can check me out on Instagram, Marie Diamond Official. I have my own podcast, YouTube channel. There's a lot of information out there. So I would say start with the book, because that's a very practical book that you immediately know the step by step, and people love it. It's become a global bestseller in most countries on Amazon. So I'm looking forward for you to start with knowing the system, and of course, get your free app, Murray Diamond, so that you can really start practicing feng shui at your own place.
Love it. Thank you very much for being such an
Thank you so much, Lane, and all my love to you.
informative guest. Oh, absolutely. And folks, you've been listening to The Soul of Business. As always, my admonition to you as we sign off here on this episode is find ways to be a center of distribution in your life, not a center of accumulation. You'll find that your life works a whole lot better. Take care, and we'll see you on the next episode.